Aloha, I'm Soraya Letournel. I'm one of the top real estate agents right here in Kailua-kona, focusing on helping families relocate right here to the beautiful Big Island, second homes, investment properties, but also luxury homes. And today we're going to talk about whether you should rent before moving to the Big Island and whether it's a good idea or not, and why I think it is a good idea to do that, and how to avoid some of the very costly mistakes of moving here and then having to leave within 2 years. So let's get right into it. One thing that I think is very interesting as well about this video is that it does apply to sellers as well. When you're thinking about selling your home and going to the mainland, we get so many clients that had seller's remorse, meaning they left Hawaii, went to a different state thinking the grass was going to be greener there. Within a year or two of them being on the mainland, they actually miss Hawaii and end up coming back. Now, one of the big things that you'll notice if you're looking into real estate and moving to the Big Island and Hawaii in general, but on the Big Island, the real estate has been actually appreciating for the last 30 years. So what ends up happening is the seller will leave, go to the mainland, buy a type of home. Typically it's cheaper than, what they sold their home for. And when they try to come back to the Big Island, they're typically taken back because the housing went up. So they are priced out of the type of home that they used to have, that they bought years ago. And then when they look at what they can actually afford in today's market with today's prices, they realize that it's not exactly what they wanted, it's not what they used to have, and so they get a lot of seller's remorse that way. So if you're looking into selling, make sure that you 100% want to do that, and I advise that you rent on the mainland if you are able to. All right, so if you're looking into moving to the Big Island, of course, there's a couple things that drew you to that, right? Hawaii is beautiful. We have amazing beaches. We have so many volcanoes with awesome trails. We have awesome outdoor activities. The ocean is beautiful and you can snorkel almost every day. If you're looking for a place that's very sunny where you want to live, you can find that. If you're looking for somewhere that's cooler, we also have that on the Big Island. There's a huge flexibility as far as the type of lifestyle, which is why it's attracting so many people. And I think I'm jaded, but I think the Big Island is one of the best places to live. Now, why do you want to rent? I think you want to rent because you want the flexibility of being able to experience the community. When you experience the community, you get an idea of the type of traffic patterns, where people go grocery shopping, what are the beaches that are closest that you would typically go to if you live in a certain area versus another area. So you really get to experience the lifestyle as a local versus if you were on vacation. When you're on vacation, it's a little bit different because you're not really, typically, people are not really looking for rentals that are in areas that are more focused on residential. You'll be in a touristic area of some kind. And the lifestyle is completely different than what it would be if you were here full time. Now, it's true, you can make the argument that it's really just a 10-minute difference in lifestyle, but it has a huge impact in your day-to-day life. One thing that I think would be very interesting for people to see is the migration patterns for Hawaii. So I'm going to put up a little graph right here. That's the annual domestic migration to and from Hawaii since 2006. Now, the thing that's interesting about this particular graph is the green represents all the new residents by the thousand moving to Hawaii versus the red are the people departing from Hawaii. So they're residents that are departing the states. So what you're noticing is that the green is pretty much, although it does fluctuate a little bit, it's staying right around 55,000 people. And the red went down until about 2010. It seems like less and less people were coming to Hawaii from 2006 to 2010, which kind of makes sense because that is when some of the stressors as far as like economic life were. And then since it's recovered, you can see that it stayed a little bit stable. But in 2015, there was definitely a switch where you can see more and more people are moving to Hawaii versus before. So now we're reaching almost, I would say, 68,000 people moving to Hawaii. Now, one of the things that we get asked all the time from people who are thinking about relocating is, well, will I be able to make friends? Is there going to be anybody with a similar background to mine where I can create a community and really have a place to live where I feel at home? And so what I think is really helpful, in my opinion, is looking at where people are originating from and where people are going to. So you can see in this green map of the United States, you can see the origin of the new residents who moved to Hawaii in 2018. Now, the number one state that people came from is California. The next two, which seem to be almost tied, are Washington and Texas. We came from Texas, so I kind of like seeing this, and I kind of agree with that, because as I meet people, I'm realizing that more and more people are actually from Texas who moved here. And then the next states, it seems like there's quite a few of them. You can see Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Florida, and Virginia are some of them. Now, when residents are leaving Hawaii, it is interesting to see that there's a little bit more of a variety. But California is still number one of where they're going back to, and Texas is number two. And then you can see there's a little bit more of a spread between Washington, Oregon, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina, and Virginia. But it is very interesting to see that people are going back to California and Texas mostly. So as a top selling agent right here in Kailua-kona, I can tell you the main reasons that my clients typically sell. Number one is health. If they are a much older couple, they want to be closer to family, they want to have more flexible care, they don't want to have to travel to Honolulu to see any kind of specialist. So typically they move back to the mainland in order to be closer to their family. Another one is typically job opportunities, right? So some of the working couples may have opportunities on the mainland that they cannot pass up. And although they moved here within the last 5 years, it's just too good of an opportunity and they end up selling to leave. The third thing that I typically see is that they sell because they've realized that they are in the wrong neighborhood. So after living right here in, I don't know, some type of neighborhood, let's say at a higher elevation, they realize that they don't like having that rain every day. That's like 2 to 3 hours of a mist. They want to be closer to the beaches. They want to be somewhere sunnier. So typically I've had a lot of sellers that sell, but then end up buying within Hawaii as well. Another one, the fourth one, it's very rare, but it does happen, is that we have sellers who didn't like Hawaii. Their expectations of the lifestyle, whether it's the rainy thing or, they get island fever, or they realize that it's a very slow pace area, and their expectations of their lifestyle are just not aligned with reality. And so this is the worst one to sell, because I hate seeing people who are very disappointed in living in Hawaii, because I love it here, and I think anybody who has the right expectations will love Hawaii, right? And so how do we make sure that you are not in that category and that you don't end up making a very costly mistake? So let's get into it. I want to get into this section and let you know that there's always a way to avoid renting. If you get the right person to advise you, who is genuine, who can tell you their true opinion of certain areas, and who can genuinely tell you what the real lifestyle reality is like versus focusing on making the sale, then I think you can avoid the fact of renting in Hawaii. And I think that really depends on who's working with you, your personal preference, and how comfortable you feel with that person. I just want to preface this whole section by saying if you're working with the right person, you can just skip all that because they'll give you the right genuine information. So if you work with us, that's what we do. I've deterred some people from buying. I've deterred people from selling because they would sell at a loss. So all I care about is really that you're happy and that you have the right mentality and picture of what your lifestyle will be like. But let's get into it. If you're not sure, you want to rent and just make sure for yourself, then this is what you should do. You should definitely rent because you want to experience the high living costs of Hawaii. You want to know how much it costs budget accurately because you are experiencing it, and you can really figure out, okay, like this is how much electricity is, this is how much groceries are, this is how much we spend on gas, and just budget that way you really know for sure. The other reason why you would want to rent is because you get a really good idea of the housing market, right? Like which neighborhoods are actually going down in price, which neighborhoods are going up, which ones fit more what we like, which ones are our friends living in. Maybe we want to live closer to them. You know, things like that make you appreciate really like the locations, the types of neighborhoods, and all the nuances between all those neighborhoods, because you're there long term, you get to see that. The other thing that I would highly recommend if you're gonna start exploring and renting is island hopping. My husband and I did that on a vacation that was specifically for looking for a place to live in Hawaii, and we island hopped and stayed there quite a long time. And we didn't do most of the local fun attractions. We did do that for a couple days, but the main intent was to look at certain neighborhoods and homes that were for sale and understand the lifestyle, the location, how close is the grocery store, the gym, the beach, like all those things, and looking at the traffic patterns to understand, is this really a place where I want to live? And when I'm looking at the population at restaurants, that seems to be local restaurants, do I assimilate with those people, and can I see myself being friends with them? So that's one of the things that I highly recommend. If you're not sure where you want to live, I would 100% island hop. This is more of an insider tip, but if you're renting, you will have the time to make relationships with local vendors. So if you're looking to rent, you're here a long time, I highly recommend that you go to flooring guys, countertop guys, cabinet guys, and then general contractors, and you get some feedback from your neighbors to try to get some idea of like who has done work for them, who was awful, who was great, that kind of stuff. Because if you rent a long time, the market will more than likely appreciate, and some of the homes that you're looking at, you might be priced out of. So like for example, condos appreciated almost 90,000 since last year. Homes did about the same. I believe it was around 150. So when you're looking at renting, it does cost you opportunity, right? Because you're not purchasing at a lower price. But if you're able to make certain connections with vendors, then maybe you're able to purchase a property that's in the right neighborhood under your budget because it's not perfect, and then you have money to renovate it. The other reason why you would actually rent is because you want to avoid Hawaii buyer's remorse. So go rent on the mainland. If you don't have any concrete reason of having to sell your home except for leisure and you want something different, then I highly recommend to just put a long-term tenant in your home and then just go experience what life is like outside of your house in the destination that you're interested in. If you're thinking about moving to the Big Island and you want genuine advice about what lifestyle is like, location, all that kind of stuff, the neighborhoods, set up a no pressure meeting with me. There is a link in the description below, and what we'll do is we're just going to talk about your goals, the lifestyle that you're looking for, you know, whether it's a gentleman's farm, whether it's investment property, whether you're just coming here to completely relocate and you have certain interests that are different, or maybe you just like going to the beach, man, and you just want to be able to be within 20 minutes of the beach. What we'll do is we'll just talk about your goals, how achievable they are, and I'll suggest certain neighborhoods to you, and we'll just generally have a no pressure conversation going forward. So I hope this information was very helpful. Please subscribe to the channel. We have more information about the Big Island, what it's like to live here, and of course, a lot of real estate information as well. I hope to see you on the next one. Aloha, and Soraya Letournel with eXp Realty.